Okay, if you couldn't hear me, now you can hear me. You didn't get the music. Thanks for saying, Neil, before I went too deep into that. 37th App Lab, we've got the quiet Zoom, we've got the things. I'm on a mobile rig today, and I sort of, like between stable builds of things. So I just wanted to do a quick session, like broadcast from another city, and just sort of like, I'm sort of kind of on holiday, but I just wanted to like just catch up anyway, like keep the thing going, keep this thing going as much as I can. So yeah, here I am. This is Milan. Announcements this week are I got an email from someone that was trying to use the delay calculator on Squares TV that couldn't use MKV files, and it was a very trivial change to make that work. So now you can drag in. So OBS by default wants to record MKV files. For some reason that doesn't count as video according to browsers, but I just added in the MKV file extension, and now if you want to drag that into the delay calculator, you can. So that's a little fix. I was looking at my prices. I was just sort of like going through some stuff this week, and I was like, I think $25 is a bit much for Shoot's Telestrator, as fun as it is. I've sort of been trying to be a bit more, like charge things what they're worth day to day, but I did feel like, yeah, that's probably on the high side. So I've cut it down to 15. So if anyone has been like looking at that Telestrator and Shoot and just thought, oh, well, I've got Video Pencil. Now it's a little bit less sort of like silly. So I just sort of, that came out today. So just wanted to let you know that I'd altered that setting in iTunes. Usually I just do this secretly and don't tell anyone, but like today I thought I'd just mention it in case that encourages anyone. Progress on Video Pencil. I got this new iPad, and then I did manage to figure out. So you see the preview is now sort of, the thickness is varying as I draw, which was not the case in the past because I had to do a sort of like guess thing, and then I did figure this out for older iPads, but I've actually now, I got this iPad so I could test why it was going pink. I found the one thing I had to tweak, and it all just started working. And I'm quite pleased about that. If you're interested, there was a metal texture that was marked as frame buffer only by the system, but I was able to go in and say, please, on this view, please just give me views that I can also draw somewhere else. They don't have to just be outputs. That's why they were going pink. I was using them illegally, and it just wasn't enforced on the older iPads. The next thing is, yeah, I've been finally kind of making a bit of progress on the website content. So I've been sort of thinking, what do I want my like titles and calls to action and sections, and what do I want it to be about? What's the structure of the page? And I quite liked. So I've sort of been trying this kind of post-it note thing. Like, what pictures do I want? And just trying to get here. So I'm thinking like, but I want it to look simple. I don't want it to, it is such a powerful app now, but I want it to not be, like, I want you to also get like the feeling that it's really approachable. So I've got to sort of be careful about piling on all the features up front, but just to go through it, like with CueCam Presenter, I've got an all-in-one tool to present anything on your webcam. First step is to organize your thoughts and decide what you're going to say, which you can do with the cue cards. If you want titles and bullet points, these can be added with Markdown, drag and drop images and videos onto the cards. And then that's the sort of like, I'm authoring a document. And then like the connect bit, we talk about the virtual camera that can be used anywhere. Mention Zoom, Meet, Teams. Use your iPhone as a webcam. And I'm sort of telling you this in the hope that maybe you'll tell me something I've missed. By the way, my Zoom window is behind, so yeah, no. Let me just make sure I can see that while I'm going through this. Use your iPhone. I feel like use your iPhone as a teleprompter webcam. Keep eye contact with your audience. I think it's sort of like, before we even talk about Shoot and Video Pencil, I can just say, look, you can, and sort of lean into that initial use case where you can just do it with your phone, and then if you have a real teleprompter, you can do that properly, get a head-up display, but sort of like lead with, okay, you just need an iPhone. start your talk, yeah, and then just like press play and just say that the bullet points, but maybe we can show that visually. I think even in that first sort of video, I might have a thing that shows how on the iPhone, like literally, if you have bullet points over to the side, the camera will pan so that you're on the other side and stuff like that. Like I think that would be a really nice thing to show, even though that's more for the sort of iPhone only use case. I think that's quite a fun use case. And then we've got like, then I start to mention sometimes you want to switch to a second camera. And of course, I'm going to talk about sharing desktop, no permissions required. You can include audio and you can zoom in and all this kind of stuff that I sort of want to capture this. I could do this if I want to capture that you can do stuff that you would usually need OBS to do, but you don't have all the headache of that. I'm not quite sure how to introduce that. But with with Video Pencil, your iPad will show what you're sharing. You can draw on it, laser pointer, and then the Stream Deck can be mentioned. And then I was thinking the go live, the camera button lets you pick your main camera, share button lets you share your screen picture. I'd sort of mention that we've got those, if I just show you, we've got those, oh, that's not it. I forget what the keyboard, oh yeah, so we've got this stuff, these controls here that show up like this or down like this. I have refined these this week actually. These have like subtly more states than they used to have in the next build, but like the next build isn't going to come until I've stabilized all the video frame buffer stuff. And then coming back to here, yeah, and then I can mention that you have a side 3D and the text button lets you put some text up, and then like I can sort of go into maybe like polish stuff. Okay, you can actually put music on, you can put a countdown timer, you can sort of like have overlays. I will be like, before it goes live, you will have the ability to add like an overlay or a backdrop onto any of your shares. So that's just something I just need to add in. And then I think the sharing use case is the other thing I want to talk about. You can actually distribute these documents to other people on the team or in the company, and they will have the talking points, especially for sales or for like education or for any of those things. So this is sort of kind of how I'm thinking about it. That's not even to mention audio, like this one. I should probably mention audio and stuff. But like I sort of want to have, I'm trying to sort of have this trade-off of it's really approachable. All you've got to do is like write some notes, and it gives you a virtual webcam, and you can have all this. You can have all this stuff that usually would require all sorts of mucking about with OBS, if it's even possible. But I also want to like show that it's deep as well. But it's sort of like hard to know how to structure that landing page necessarily. But the way I'm thinking is like we have the headlines, we have the visual demonstrations, but then like there's got a Stream Deck, got a thing, and then they can be like modals or other pages for the sort of more advanced stuff. So that's where I'm up to with the website. Just something I've been like sitting on the balcony on the iPad, trying to think through everything I want that website to say. It's something I've been really putting off. I keep just putting off this writing part because it's just so much more rewarding to write the code sometimes. But sometimes you just got to write some copy. But it's hard. It's just hard. But I've made some progress. I'm not sort of like allowed to write any code this week really. I have been doing a bit, but I'm mostly trying to focus on that copy. So the next thing I was going to talk about, like last week, there was a question about like, are we going to be able to get more styles for the titles in Beat Sheet and or CueCam? And I sort of said, well, I sort of said a lot of stuff about the, I don't want it to turn into Canva. I don't really want it to turn into Keynote. I don't want it to be sort of like this fun, flexible layout tool. I kind of want it to be I want to just take care of that layout and also just take advantage of the fact that you don't need like colorful backgrounds and slides because sorry, I just banged my mic. You're the main event. But something that I forgot to mention last week that I did want to drill into a bit this week was Markdown, like the mentality I have behind the presentation aspects of this, and just the role of Markdown in my thinking, which is I sort of like Markdown, if you don't know, is a text-based format that lets you just sort of write a hash. I'll show you some in a minute, but it's just a text-based format that lets you kind of do bullet points, do titles, do tables, do sort of like basic formatting thing, quotes. with just text markup. And it's, but in a way that can be interpreted by a machine and used to sort of render something nicely and apply styling and do things like that. So whenever I create content, I'm writing Markdown, and then I write the website, and then the website turns that into HTML. And that's just a principle I'm trying to bring to this presentation tool. And it's not without precedent. So I was just going to show you, like, there's nothing particularly special about this one I found called deck set. Like, there was another one, like every so often, like someone will come out with a sort of a tool like this that lets you mark down your stuff. How do I get rid of the controls in a Shoot if I don't want them to show on the screen? So this is like what Markdown usually looks like. So you'd have like a hash, 1 hash for a large heading, 2 hashes for a regular, 3 hashes. You'd have the hashes, but I'm not even necessarily giving you that at the moment. By the way, yeah, like at the moment you get bullets and you get like the titles aren't even Markdown. So like that's probably why I didn't think of it when I was talking about it. But something like this, you'd have something like a large title and this is interesting. I haven't seen this. Yeah, fit. So they've got some syntax here for this. So this is a Markdown-driven presentation tool. So they've got headings, they've got lists. So you can sort of make it make bullet points, or you can make it make numbered lists, or you can like do nesting, which I don't actually do, but it would be quite good to have. But this is the sort of thing. Asterisks for emphasis, for italics, double things for bold. Like, this is the way I kind of want to approach CueCam's styling. And maybe I give you like a button you can press for bold, and under the hood it's making Markdown. But this is the sort of approach, and this is the range of things I'm likely to want to add. So we've got emphasis, and then like strike through, and then quotes. This is something I was like almost added last week, because sometimes you just want to have a quote on the screen and an attribution, and then that's this sort of forward tack, forward. Maybe I'll make this a bit bigger. This sort of like forward arrow is a quote, usually in Markdown. So I just want to sort of start supporting a few more of these things. And then maybe I'll be nice and do code as well, but that's sort of for people like me. And then like tables, you can sort of do like this as well. And this starts to get a bit like hard to look at for non-programmers at this point. But I mean, this would be cool, wouldn't it, if we could have like, formulas, emojis. And then, so this is kind of the principle that I'm following. This is the mindset I have for CueCam. So rather than creating like a WYSIWYG drag and drop tool, I want you to just sort of say what the content's going to be and let me take care of the layout. But a blocker to that, like something that has been challenging is that I was taking a very there's an intersection of two problems I've been having. One is this performance stuff that I've been trying to get my head around. So I'm using, if you know iOS, SceneKit is a 3D modeling layer, and then SpriteKit is a 2D thing. I've been using the 2D graphics tools to render the slides, and then the 3D render tool to sort of let me do all the, actually, more than just like 3D graphics, it gives me a really simple way to insert like core image filters into the pipeline. And what that means for you is it's pretty trivial for me to add LUTs. It's pretty trivial to me to add green screen support. And so like those are things that were really easy to use in SceneKit, but like would be a real pain if I had to write my own metal shaders. But also being able to add in not a whole shader, which is like machine, GPU code for like rendering graphics. But my countdown timer is a shader, but because of SceneKit, it can be just a shader fragment. I don't have to have tons and tons of code. I can just sort of do the little bit, and I also get like a live editor. So I like SceneKit, but SpriteKit you can attach to SceneKit, but then that was causing crashes or difficulties because of just the way that, again, I'm going to get technical. like SpriteKit wants to be on the main thread. I don't want to put it on the main thread because I want it to be able to render in the background. I don't want it to be like, if something else happens that slows down the user, I don't want it to be slowing down the user interface or vice versa. I want it to have its own super optimized, super smooth feed. And if I've always got to go back to the main thread to just render a slide, especially when I was rendering like loads for the previews, it just got really heavy. So I decided, right, I'm not going to kill SceneKit. I'm going to figure out how to make that work. And I've got some more ideas that I haven't tried yet. And this is coming back to the why is it repeating frames, and then why sometimes is it literally like bouncing around back in time. Cut to the chase, like, well, not cutting to the chase at all, but like in SceneKit, like if I add something, like I'm responsible for going, okay, where's the top left? How tall is it? If I want to put a bullet point underneath it, I've got to sort of say, okay, what's the space? What's the space? I've got to measure everything, lay it out, and like know kind of the X, Y coordinates of everything, which if you have ever laid out anything in code, it's just a really awkward way of working, and it ends up with even just my bullet points and my titles was ending up being a lot of code, and code that I was a bit scared to touch because there's like, you know, there's 5 different layouts and they all have like subtle differences in how it needs to lay out the boxes. So I had this idea, like what if and that made me go, oh, if I add quotes, it's just going to get unmanageable. If I add any of these other things or different animations or anything, it's just going to get really unmanageable. And then I had this little idea of what if I could use Swift UI, which is Apple's super, super neat layout system for code, but also really good for typography, graphics. What if I could use Swift UI and then, like, spoiler alert, this is what am I not getting... Okay, sorry, spoiler alert, you didn't see what I was doing there. I can put, you know, a title, an image, and like some bullet points, and it's like very little code to do that. But then what I thought, like what I could do is now, what if I could now like just stick a little modifier on this, and now it sort of measures the position within the box of each of those elements. And then I can extract those coordinates, take the texture, put that straight on the GPU, and then now I can take each of these elements and just render those right on the GPU in Metal. So that means like I get the best of both worlds, a really good layout engine that lets me just add in new layouts, new text features, new graphics, new different like ways of showing things in a really live preview way, in a really like easy to use way for me, but then also get the maximum performance as well, because I just render that to a texture when you change it, and then like I can just like move that around in real time, and like nothing's going to break a sweat, and I can also put it on any thread I want. So that's what I've been doing. So that's towards the performance thing, but also towards this Markdown vision. So I see that I have a little bit of support here from Neil, who says, I think the Markdown workflow would be a great addition to Beat Sheet, still keeping it simple, but providing some additional formatting to make the visuals look better. So thank you for, yeah, I think like that, this is kind of my goal with this. I want it to feel like a text editor, because I want you to be able to plan out a show without like having to grab the mouse. Because I just want you to be able to think of your thoughts. And I think typing, staying on the keyboard is the way to do that. The only other thing that's in the back of my mind is when you do see like a cue card guy, they've got like, it's like handwritten, and there's double underlines, and things are in different colors, and there's maybe a drawing. There is maybe some universe in which the actual cue cards themselves end up very rich formatted, but like even more so than the slides. So that's just something I'm thinking about. It's in the back of my mind. I don't know, we'll see. So that's, honestly, like I didn't want to do a huge session this week. That's actually pretty much it for this week. I was hoping to catch a bit of golden hour, but I guess we've still got a few more minutes before the gold comes around to this side of that. It's nice and gold on the other side of the flat, but not on this side. Neil asks, when will this be available to test? So I don't know if you're on the test flight on the CueCam beta or not, but there is a beta, but it's going to be a week or two before I think I'm ready to ship the next beta, because it really is some like low-level stuff that I'm just trying to get perfect, and I don't want you to have to keep uninstalling the camera extension and reinstalling it every time, and then they get out of sync, and then but like, and I'm also like not looking at it for a couple of days this week, just because, you know, I'm away, and I just I'm here. I wanted to check in, but I'm sort of on holiday, but not ever on holiday. It's sort of on holiday, but it just means I'm sort of like not allowed to sit down and spend 6 hours optimizing some Swift, but I am like writing documentation and stuff. So I like this. Keep the questions coming. I love this, Neil. Is this CueCam only, or will you be adding it to Beat Sheet too? CueCam and Beat Sheet actually share the same code base for this stuff. So it might not immediately end up in Beat Sheet, because I have to like fix the build for Beat Sheet to build again. But anything I do around slides will end up back in Beat Sheet. All the other virtual camera stuff, all the other things, screen sharing, all that kind of stuff, that's just CueCam. But the slide rendering is shared code, Beat Sheet and CueCam. And so if you have Beat Sheet and you want, you'll have access to this stuff, but probably a bit behind, because I'm focused on CueCam, and like the build is broken for Beat Sheet at the moment. I need to like spend a day just kind of like rescuing it from from like, you know, it's some stuff is enabled for Beat Sheet, and some stuff is enabled for CueCam, and some, if I haven't like compiled it for Beat Sheet for a while, then some stuff is like I've missed that it's broken now. So I just need to fix that up. So it will be on Beat Sheet is the answer, but CueCam will sort of get it first usually, and that's just not for any other reason that because I'm building it. You know, I'm focused on the other app, and it's just. It takes a bit of extra time to make sure it all works in Beat Sheet too, because Beat Sheet has a slightly different set of requirements. It's got to create NDI output, and it's got to do some other things, whereas CueCam will lean on Siphon. It won't give you the I've actually like I don't have any NDI in CueCam because it's more trouble than it's worth, and I think it's a better experience with Siphon anyway. You don't have to install anything extra with OBS, but I just couldn't do that on I couldn't do that on Video Pencil Camera because it was in the App Store, but I can do it outside the App Store. Thank you, everyone, for coming by and visiting me in this lovely sunny city. It's very nice weather here, but not too hot. We've got a couple of day trips planned this week. I'm tinkering with the website. I've got my laptop, I've got my iPad. So yeah, that's where we're up to. Thank you for dropping by. Again, like if you hadn't got the Telestrator feature in Shoot, because it seemed a bit like it's a bit cheaper now. See how you feel about it now. And yeah, we hang out in Discord. I'm gonna make the music come up on I really wanted to make the music come up, but you'll just have to take my... Just come to squares.tv Discord. See you soon, and have a great rest of your week. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.